So this is a help video for Jasmine Flower, which is a grade 1 piece. Now, it's quite a tricky piece, to be honest. There are a lot of notes and you don't have any rests to have a little breather. So what's tricky about this piece is being able to play it all the way through without stopping. There's a lot going on. Added to a lot of notes, there are quite a few slurs as well, which makes life tricky. In the second half of the piece, we have a more difficult rhythm pops in as well, which is a dotted crotchet. Okay, there's one in bar 11, but I'll talk more about that later on. Yeah, there's just quite a lot to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the piece all the way through. I'm going to count myself in nice and slowly, a nice reasonable tempo that should make life easier for you guys. And if you want to have a listen to it, that's great. But if you want to play along, because I'm counting in, you'll know when to start as well. After I've played it all the way through, I'm actually going to break it up into phrases, okay, what we call phrases. Now, a phrase in music, I'm going to try and describe a phrase in the way, in terms of your writing, when you do your writing. So if you think about it, when you do your writing, you have your letters and you make your letters into words, and then your words then go into a sentence, okay? A phrase is a little bit like that. It's like a musical sentence. So if you think that your letters are your notes and the notes go into bars and make a musical pattern, and then your bars run together to make a phrase. So it's like a musical sentence. Now, the point of playing the piece broken up into phrases is that if you are finding it difficult to play it all the way through without stopping, you should find it easier to practice it phrase by phrase. So if you keep watching, you'll get a performance all the way through, and then you'll have the piece broken up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to play Jasmine Flower all the way through now. Now, when I play it all the way through, it would be really fantastic if you've practiced it and you can play along with me. That'd be great. Really good thing for you to be able to do. Another thing you can do, if you're not quite there yet, is you can follow the music along from your book while I'm playing, and that will show you the shape of the music and how it should sound, and you can see the music as well as listen to it at the same time. It's a really good thing to do, so that's worth thinking about. Okay, so before I play it, we're just going to go through some of the bits and pieces that are written on the music. The very first line has just got a big thick line all the way through it with a 2 over it, and now that means you have got 2 bars rest at the beginning before you start playing. So when you start playing on line 2 of the music, can you see there's a 3 at the side? That means it's bar 3. Now what happens in those first 2 bars is the piano will play first. So the piano will play for 2 bars and then you come in. Now we're not playing with the piano today, so we don't need to worry about that. So when I play, I'm going to count myself in like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll start. And that means that if you're playing along, you'll know exactly when to start as well. Okay, we have quite a lot of slurs, but you can see where those are. We'll just leave that there because that's quite a tricky thing for me to go through explaining bar by bar. We've got some dynamics written on the music. So at the beginning of line 2, bar 3, where you start playing, we have an F. So F stands for forte, which is Italian for loud. We have a P at the beginning of the next line. P stands for piano, which is Italian for quietly or softly. And at the end of the 3rd line of playing, so 4th line in total, we have an MF. So the M stands for mezzo, which means moderately or medium. It's an easier way to remember it. So that would be medium loud, MF. We have a crescendo and a diminuendo written on the music. So if you look at the 3rd line of playing, you can see the word cresque, which is short for a crescendo. Crescendo means gradually get louder. And then on the last line, you've got dim, which is short for diminuendo, and that means gradually get quieter. We also have a sign for those 2 words. Now, we haven't got the sign for crescendo on this piece, but we do have the sign for diminuendo. So at the end of the first full line of playing, you can see there's a big arrow thing that looks like that, and you've got one on the very last bar, a shorter one on the very last bar as well. So that's the sign for getting quieter. So that sign and dim or diminuendo mean exactly the same thing. One's just a word, one's a sign. Okie doke. Towards the end, we've got the words, the second to last bar, we've got the words poco rit. So rit means slow down, and poco means little. So it's just a little slow down just towards the end. Often get them towards the end of bits of music. It kind of helps bring the piece to a close. Okay, so I'm going to count myself in now and play the entire thing, and if you're playing along, good luck. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to perform some of Jasmine Flower now in phrases. Okay, so sometimes phrases, in fact often phrases go in even numbers, so 4 bars or 8 bars for a phrase. Doesn't always follow that rule, but I will tell you how many bars I'm going to play so you know what you're aiming for if you're going to try and play along. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the first full line of playing, which is 4 bars. Okay, so let's do that now, and then we'll carry on after that. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4. Well done if you managed that, and if you did manage it, did you also manage to put the diminuendo just towards the end? Hopefully you could hear from my performance that I got a little bit quieter there. Next we're going to do the next 4 bars. So this is going to be bars 7, 8, 9 and 10, again 4 bars. Okay, so this will be starting on an open A, and we should, if possible, be playing nice and quietly because we've got a piano written under the music, or P for short. So here we go, count in again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now just before I do the next phrase, which is going to be all the way from bar 11 to the end, which, yeah, that's a bit of a long one, that's 8 bars. But before we do that one, we now have a more tricky rhythm. We have a 1.5 beat rhythm. So if you look at bar 11, which is the third full line of playing, okay, so it goes 2, 1, D, 2, 1, and that 1 has got a dot next to it. Now that means that that is a 1.5 beat note. The dot adds on half of that particular note. Now that particular note is a 1 beat note, half of 1 is half, so you add it on, it becomes 1.5. Okay, so when we play this, what we have to do is we have to stay on that D1 a little bit longer, and then we have to do the D2 at the end, which is only a single quaver, so it's just a half beat note. We have to do that quite quick, just at the end of the bar. So if I click, here's our beat, and if I show you how it sounds when I'm going to sing it for you, and I'm going to just use the note numbers like I often do. So 2, 1, D, 2, 1, 2, A, etc. Now because the D2 at the end is quite a quick note, it makes sense to add the A on as well. So if I sing that again, this time if you wanted, you could try and sing it with me, and just to see if you could work out where to put that D2 at the end is quite tricky. It might be that you just listen to me singing it over and over and over again, and you might find that you can remember how it goes. So here's our beat again. Ready? Off we go. 2, 1, D, 2, 1, 2, A. So the A at the beginning of the next bar is on my click. The D1 with the dot on it is also on my click, but the D2 at the end is between the click and the next one. Tricky stuff, guys, okay? It's tricky. If I sing that one more time, if you've tried to follow what I just said, which is confusing, I do apologise. If you tried to follow what I just said, and let's just do it one more time and see if you can see what I mean. So the last little tiny quaver will be between clicks. It will not be on a click. So here we go. Off we go. 2, 1, D, 2, 1, 2, A. Can you hear how that comes between the beat? And we have that bar, that rhythm, sorry, in that bar, bar 11, and we also have it again in bar 15, and then again in the second to last bar, bar 17 as well. So it does come a few times, so it's really good if you can get the hang of how that goes. Right, enough talking. Let's do bar 11 to the end, okay? So here we go, bar 11. 1, 2, off we go. So hopefully you could hear at the end, we've got the poco rit, so a little slow down, and also tried to get a little bit quieter on that last night to show that diminuendo. You might have noticed in bar 13, if you can work out where bar 13 is, so you've got your 11, so that's bar 11, bar 12, bar 13 is a third bar on the third full line of playing, that I was using a fourth finger for the A. You may have noticed that, you may not have done. Now you can use an open string, that's absolutely fine. So if you play an open string, it'll be. If you use your fourth finger, which is quite tricky, it just means that you keep all of those notes on the D string. So. But for you guys, you could do either, it doesn't really matter. To be honest, if you're actually having a proper lesson, I might see how well you can stretch a full finger, because it is tricky, and if you can do it reasonably easily, I might suggest it. If you're finding it more difficult, I might have said, oh, just it's okay, just do an open A. Okay then, so you've got different phrases being performed for you that you can play along with, you can listen to it, you can sing it back, especially with those tricky rhythms. So good luck working on Jasmine Flower, and I hope it improves over a bit of time. Okay, well done guys.